Hello there all my lovely jewelry makers, I'm Christina of CSLdesigns, and today's video is a sponsored video because a company in AliExpress sent me some materials. So what I thought we'd do is open up the box and have a little look together, and then I'll also see if I can make some jewelry with some of it. So let's just jump right in and let's get started. Okay, so wow, this is a big pile of gemstones and beads. So yeah, I had an idea of it would be this kind of thing they would send me, but I didn't know specifics really. So I'll be honest, I am liking the look of this because this is right up my street. And also we can't forget this little extra that I didn't realize, but I'm very curious about. So yeah, I just think we should just dive right in and have a closer look. So the question is how to go about having a look at these, because there is quite a bit to look at and I don't want this video to take forever, but we could go by colour, by size. I'm not entirely sure. Okay, I think we're going to go by colour just because I love colour, so why not? Now let's start out with some actual colour, quite a bit of colour. And there's these two strands here that I saw, where it's literally strands of different colours all the way along, and usually these are agate or quartz or something like that, gemstone strands, and these are very long as well. Get a lot of beads on here, and personally I love strands like this where you basically get a bunch of colours in the same strand, because you can either pick out the different colours and use them individually, so kind of separate them out, or you can use them as they are because these all work together. For instance, making this into just a bracelet or a necklace as it is, I think that works perfectly fine. So I really like strands like this. So, and there's a larger one and a smaller one, which is lovely as well. You can use them nicely in the same project or different projects, but for instance like a ring and a necklace. So a ring, maybe use the small beads, and a necklace, use the larger ones. They're really lovely strands. Some of my favourite ones are strands like this. Then after all the colours, let's start out with some purple, because yeah, it's purple. And again, these are strands I can always use. I love having strands like this in my stash. So again, larger and smaller strand, I love that as well. And these would probably be agate, and kind of banded agate, some different tones of purple and kind of some white and clearness as well, and quite dark. I love these strands. That's what I love about agate, is when you get this banded ones and striped ones where you get so many different tones of the same colour, and it just all really works together. So these would be lovely with silver and copper, I think, and would work nicely together. So lovely strands. I love that smaller size, probably 4mm there, and this is probably about an 8mm. Really great sizes as well. So then after purple, I think it makes sense to go straight to blue. So again, by the looks of it, some agate strands. We have a bit of a selection here. So this is not just, all the previous ones were just basically the regular kind of finish. So as you can see, they're kind of somewhat shiny but not sparkly like if they were faceted or something, and they're not matte either. But then looking at these, we have a strand like that here. That's kind of just a basic one. Again, banded agate, lovely different tones of blue, but they all work together. But then here we have a matte version basically of that. I love matte beads as well, matte gemstones. There's just something about them, and they feel really nice as well, really tactile. And then finally, basically a faceted version, and that always adds that extra sparkle, as you can see, glistening in the light. I really like that too. And obviously they could work together or you could use them separately. These all seem to be an 8mm around there. So also a lovely stable basic, and they will go with so many other different colors, both in things like wire and also with other colors of beads as well. Now from the blue, I'm thinking move on to the green. I actually think there's quite a few green strands, so let me just get them all out. Got a few here, and there's also some other shapes other than just rounds that there's been so far. And by the looks of it, nice different tones, but also some really tiny beads, which I love as well. I love kind of basic micro beads, and also in gemstones, and especially when they're faceted. I still wonder how they can do it, but they just add such a lovely sparkle to them. I think that's more or less it. Well, technically, probably do this one. It's more light, but the colour that's in it is green, so let's add that one as well. Have a little look at all these. Now again, we start out with a lovely agate strands. One, just the regular kind of finish. Lovely green tones and hues together, and kind of mixed in with white here and there. And then the matte version, which I love as well. And actually, what I really like to do, let me just get that out. Green and purple goes really well together, I think. So those are the two kind of basic strands, again about 8mm. Then we have this next one here. This is actually a different shape. This is more of a rondelle. And again, you can see though all the different hues and colors of the green, and it's actually a little bit of kind of brownish mixed in as well. Very kind of natural, and the tones of green are very natural as well, kind of earthy. Earthy is the word I think I was looking for. But yeah, lovely strand, and again nice with a bit of a different shape. I would say it's probably about a 4x6mm, something around that. And then here, this is a bit different as well. So these are about 4mm, and the colour is very different. You can see it's green, but it's very limey green, but yellowy as well. Yet at the same time still earthy. So that's quite nice, and it would be nice to kind of mix that in maybe with some other. Use this instead of, say, a different kind of green would make it a little bit more unusual. And then what do we have? Oh, here's actually kind of like with the first two strands, where it's kind of just a regular one, but this is a 4mm. Always lovely. Then I think let's do this one because it's about that size as well. So actually quite light, because there's a lot of white in these, and kind of light tones in general, and a bit of clearness, clarity. But the colour that is in there is green. So again, a bit unusual, but then green used in a different way. So this will give a completely different look than any of the others here. Now finally, the last two are the micro ones. So first of all, let's do this one. This is probably about a 3mm or so. It's kind of in between the smallest one and the other ones here. But it's just absolutely beautiful. And lovely long strands on all of these as well. A lovely kind of tone of green. Obviously there's different ones within it, but it does kind of have an overall tone and hue. And then this is also faceted, so it has lovely sparkle in the light. Love a strand like this. And immediately I'm thinking the small ones for the purple, green and purple. And the final one, the tiny little beads, so these are probably a 2mm. And again, I say I don't know how they facet gems like this, but they do, and I love it. But they are so sparkly when they do, and so lovely. So here you actually have, first of all, quite a few different green tones, but there's also a little bit of kind of pink mixed in here and there, but a darker pink. So again, quite earthy, but in a different way than when it's the brown. tones. Very beautiful. I'm thinking something like this, the first thing that jumps in my head is, if you've seen it already, then obviously you'll know. If not, then I previously, quite a long time ago now, did a tutorial for a Tree of Life wirework ring. And I basically used beads like this, gemstones like this, where they were pretty sure this size, 2mm, and they were faceted and they were green to represent obviously the leaves on the tree. So I'm thinking instantly this strand or these beads would be perfect for that, and I'd be tempted to use them for that. But yeah, that were the green ones. And actually, one of these strands I did use some of these beads. So it was actually this one here with the unusual green, I would say. So it's not something I would immediately jump at straight away. I would personally be more attracted to these other greens, but I didn't actually start out with this strand. What I was just going to do is put it to the side because I actually used it with some other beads. So let's just move on to some pink strands. So again, we have a larger and a smaller strand, but where they're basically the same. So this is kind of the same principle, different tones of the pink and kind of whitish and darker mixed in, but in a very different way. So let me just get one of the others as an example. You can kind of see the difference in the look of them. Whereas this is kind of more the regular banded agate, well, this is a different style. And actually they're all, are they faceted? No, it just, that tricked me a little bit. I think part of it kind of just caught the light, but they are very lovely as well. I love how with agate you can get so many different variations of it, and obviously let alone the colours as well. So some lovely pink ones, and again about 4mm and about an 8mm. Then let's have a look at the orangey ones. Again, orangey yellow, I would say. We have larger and smaller. And actually the two strands are quite different from each other, even though they're similar. So in the small one, you get more of the orangey and darker ones, but also mixed in with the lighter ones. Whereas the large one, it seems a little bit more closer to each other, not as many of the darker tones. And kind of, you get some really bright ones in the small one as well. Let me just have a little look, find some. Like down here, you get quite bright orange on some of them, which is lovely. But they will still go really nice together. And obviously, these, I would say, will pretty much go with all of the other ones. They will go with, let's find them, obviously green. Can't go wrong with that. Kind of natural. What else do we have? The blue. Yeah, that goes lovely as well. Purple. Yep. So they are very lovely. And actually, this strand, I also used a couple of these beads here. And I used them with the green one. So maybe give you a little hint of where it's going. Now we're kind of running out of colours a little bit here, so the next strands we're going to be looking at are these grey ones. Kind of the overall feel of them anyway, are grey. So, kind of save that one till last, but we have a few different ones. Again, these are kind of also some other shapes and sizes. We have again some rondelles. As you can see, that rondelle shape, and I'll probably say, again, it's roughly 5 by 6, 5 by 7 or so, that size. And these are faceted, so that also adds that lovely sparkle, which goes nicely with that grey colour because it's quite elegant looking then. So that's nice. Then next we have a debate between this going in the grey or the pink, because there's very much a pink tone to it, but it's kind of mostly grey. But again, different tones, but it has that pinkness all along, about a 4mm. And then we have again some smaller beads here. These are also faceted and they have got a lovely sparkle. They also have some AB on there. You can kind of catch that in the light a little bit, where you get blue hues and yellow hues, depending how the light catches it. I always love that. Can never have too much of that. Both sparkle, but also AB. And some other ones, again, smaller. This is kind of a lighter grey, as opposed to them I just showed you. They were kind of a bit darker in a way. This is a lighter grey, I would say. And again, sparkle. Sparkle galore. And an AB as well. Different kind of rainbow tones within. And finally, of these ones, smaller ones here, we have some even smaller ones. And these are very sparkly. And you really get that AB. But again, a different tone of grey, which is quite nice, so it's not all the same. Now this strand I actually used as well. So I used it for a piece by itself. So let's just have a look at that. I kind of just played around with something a little bit. So basically this is what I ended up making. It's a bracelet, but it's a bangle bracelet that just goes over the hand like this, so there's no clasp. And I used chain to basically create this. So it's chain all the way around, and then obviously wire to kind of keep all of it together. And then I added these beads on part of the way in the middle to one, add some interest, but also that lovely sparkle, I couldn't resist that. So I had to add some of these beads in there. And just to show you it on as well, it just goes over the hand like this. And because it's that chain, it still has a flexibility to it, which I really like the feel of. So it's not like a hard wire bracelet, but it has some kind of life to it. And then those beads in the middle there, just adding a bit of interest and sparkle. So I quite like this, how it ended up. And also I think those beads really add something to it, and they go really well just with that silver chain that I used. So yeah, that's a piece of jewelry that I made using only a few. There's still loads of beads left on this strand. You get quite a lot on it. And then the final strand among the grey beads, I did debate whether to put with the grey ones, because it's a little bit more than just a grey bead, and you'd probably kind of catch a sneak peek. But I ended up doing that because I kind of feel like the base is grey / silver. Obviously probably more silver. But it's these, and they are very unusual. So, first of all, again, a nice, lovely, long strand. And it's basically, they almost come across a bit like lava beads, because they have a texture to them as well. So they have kind of this texture, but then they've been coated with, first of all, what appears to be a silver coating kind of thing, but then there's also an AB coating, but not really obvious. It's kind of a little bit subtle, and they add some colour, different colour depending where on the bead you're looking and where the light hits it. But because of that texture as well, I've not really seen this before. I've seen kind of coatings like this and textures like this, but never really together like this. So that's definitely a bit unusual, and I quite like them. I actually think from the looks of it, it's a little bit washed out on camera, because in real life the colour actually comes across more. Whereas I think it looks a little bit washed out on the camera, but they're a bit brighter in real life with the colour. But they're quite nice actually, very unusual and different, but I actually quite like them. I think there you can see the colour a little bit more, but still not quite as much as in real life, but that's better. But yeah, definitely quite different, and these are about an 8 or 10 mil in the size, so a nice general size to use. So we are now getting towards the end, and I then decided to put brown and black kind of together. So we have, this is a lovely strand. I really like strands like this. The base is kind of a black or really dark grey. But let's see if the camera can pick it up. If you can kind of tell, I think you can catch it just there. There's like an inner sheen to them, which is absolutely beautiful. I love stones like this, where you get a kind of something extra from them other than just kind of the colour. You also get, whether it's schiller or things like that, but it just, there's like a different kind of life to them when they move in the light. Oh, that one's really nice. You can catch that. That's from within the stone. So I really like that. So kind of almost as if the black or really dark grey as the base, but then that schiller or sparkle, whatever you want to call it, just catches it and makes it different tones of grey with a bit of life and sparkle to it. So that's really lovely. Then we have this, which these are rondelles again, faceted, and basically a bunch of different browns and kind of yellowy tones mixed together. So very, very wooden kind of look to it, but then with that sparkle. And then again, I debated to put this with the grey, but then I kind of thought there was quite a few grey strands, so there was also a lot of brown to this, so I kind of thought to put it with brown. Because again, it's kind of agate, banded agate, but then there are grey tones, but even the grey tones are kind of a bit brownish, got like a brown tint to them. And again, about 8mm. So this will go this will go well with a lot of the other beads in different colours, because it's quite nice kind of staple basic colour, this, bit neutral. Now we are down to the last few strands, and these are the white ones. So what we have are basically, let's look at this one first. Again, a form of rondelle. It's not as typical a rondelle shape, but you do have that where one side is bigger than the other side, which makes the rondelle. But this is basically shell, I would say, but it has a really lovely inner glow to it. So you move it in the light and it catches. I think it catches on the camera there. Absolutely lovely. That's what, just like before, I love things like this where they just have something more to them. Let's just, I think that one. It's almost a bit of apey within some of them. Very nice, lively. And the other one, again, this, I would say shell. Let's just get them all together. And these are basically hats. So really cute, kind of flat hats. And then the hole goes from the cleft to the very point, all the way through. Now again, this is quite a lengthy strand, but I actually also used some of these beads here, and I used them along with the other two that I showed you. So I used these 3 beads together in one piece. Now how it actually started was using the hats here, because for some reason it just appealed to me, and I like the idea of the little hats but using them as something else. So using the hats to maybe create something like a 4-leaf clover or flowers or something like that. So that's actually what I did. So I kind of started making flowers with these hats, and then I added the other beads here to kind of add some colour and a bit more to the piece, and I ended up with this bracelet. So you can see I ended up doing these little flowers with the actual hats themselves. Now the orangey yellowy ones, smaller beads there, the 4mm beads, I used as the center of the hats. And what I actually quite like is that because you have all these different tones on the strand, each flower becomes a bit different from the others. So they're not all that same color in the middle. I really quite like that. It just makes it a little bit more interesting, gives it some personality, I think. And then I added that first. I did the base of the bracelet and then I added the flowers, and I kind of felt like it needed something a bit more. So I thought, obviously I had a look at the green strands, and I ended up thinking this strand actually would work the best, as opposed to say, let's see if we can find them. This one. So it would have worked absolutely, but I kind of liked the tone of this green with these flowers. a little bit more than I liked this tone of green. And I kind of thought just to make it a little bit different, so that's why I ended up using these green beads to kind of add in between the flowers and add a bit more foliage, or whatever you want to call it, to the piece, kind of organicness. And again, a little bit more colour as well. So that's the bracelet I ended up making, just kind of playing around with the beads, using them for something other than necessarily what they're meant for. Kind of like doing that as well, experimenting a little bit. I think it turned out pretty cute. Quite a summery feel to it, which is brilliant right now because it is absolutely freezing where I am. So a little bit of summerness won't hurt. So yeah, can pretend, can't we? And we can't forget the little extra here that I saw a sneak peek of. Have a little look at that. So basically we have a ball or a marble, whatever you want to call it, what appears to me to be amethyst gemstone, and it's literally just round all the way, no hole. So that's very interesting. Now, I have played around with ideas for stuff like this before, so I'm actually quite curious about that. Now I have a proper one I could try and use. That's very lovely purple, of course, my favourite colour. So this would be lovely if you could capture it somehow in like a pendant. That's lovely. Or if obviously you can just use it for display, that's lovely as well. You can really just see all the kind of inclusions and everything inside. So it's not completely opaque, there's some clarity to it, which is lovely. And it's a nice, delicate, kind of a little bit pale pink. Not pink, sorry, purple. I just said that. And you get some effects in different places. That's lovely, and it feels lovely. I love the feel of things like this, how smooth and soft feeling. I know it's not technically soft, but it just feels soft because it's so smooth. Now, I did actually end up using this ball or sphere, or what you want to call it, because I kind of felt like I had to try and play around with it a little bit. So I just wanted to capture it in some wire, basically, so you could hang it as a necklace or a pendant. And this is what I ended up with. So I was just playing around and kind of ended up with a bit of a simple capture of it. So this is kind of the bottom of it. And then I use the wires around the side, well, around the ball. There's not really any sides, but to hold it in place. And then at the top I gathered them and kind of created this little bail to be able to obviously hang a chain. So I just wanted to give this effect, instead of them going straight up, kind of coming around as an effect and then gathering there at the top. So just something a bit simple, playing around with that. Just doing something a little bit differently than I normally do. So that was pretty fun. I would like to try and work with a few more spheres and balls like this. Definitely something interesting and different than just the regular kind of cabochon. I definitely like that, and have other ideas that I want to try out as well. So, and what I actually like as well is that this moves around inside the little cage, you could say. So it's quite tactile. So say if you have it as a necklace, sometimes you could just kind of pick it up if you feel the need to kind of move it around a little bit for a bit of anxiety relief or something. So yeah, this is what I ended up doing with this purple ball or sphere. So this is everything that was sent to me by the lovely company. So a bunch of really lovely and beautiful strands of different beads and gemstones. I love how they're laid out here. It's just a bunch of colour and these look so delicious. I kind of just want to jump right into them if I could. But yeah, I love beads and stones like this. I use them more or less all the time, and I have them in my stash and the basics in my stash all the time. So I can never have enough really of these kinds of beads and stones and all these different colours as well. So I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching it, and of course don't forget there's going to be links and information in the description box down below. And again, thank you to the company for sending me all these. I highly recommend you check them out, and also thank you to you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.